Says we are at page 88. Okay, and our last headword was in light of newer type of lesson. Okay, so let's
Okay.
start with our revision. Okay, let me just scroll down. 88. Okay, first question.
Okay.
Okay, so do you think sponsoring local sports events is a cost-effective way for small businesses to market themselves? Do you think sponsoring local sports events is a cost-effective way for small businesses to market themselves? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think sponsoring
I think
local
sponsoring
sports events
local sports events
is a cost-effective
is a
way
cost-effective
for
way
small
for
businesses
small
to market
businesses to
themselves.
market themselves.
Very good. Why? Why do you think so? Because
Because their company's name is often printed on their players' shirts, so a lot of audience can naturally see the company's logo, and it
very good.
becomes a cost-effective marketing way.
That's correct. And your company will be exposed more. Very good. Next,
Yeah.
why is it normally pretty easy to tell who the sponsor of a football team are? Why is it normally pretty easy to tell who the sponsors of a football team are? It's normally pretty
It's
easy
normally
to
pretty
tell who
easy
the
to
sponsor
tell
of
who
a
the
football
sponsor
team
of
are
a football team
because the
are,
company's name
because the
and logo
company's name
are
and the
printed
logos
on the player shirt.
are printed on the player's shirts.
Greg, is it a crime in most countries to carry on trading as normal after discovering that your country has become insolvent? Is it a crime in most countries to carry on trading as normal after discovering that your company has become insolvent? Yes, it's a crime in
Yes,
most
it's a
countries to
crime.
carry
Sorry,
on
it's a crime in most
to
countries to
carry on
carry on
trading as normal
trading
after
as
discovering
normal
that your
after
company has
discovering
become
that your
insolvent.
company has become insolvent.
Why? Why? Because in most countries,
Because
you're
in
guilty
most
of fraud
countries, you are
if
guilty
you
of
allow
fraud
creditors,
if you allow
suppliers,
creditors,
customers,
suppliers,
etc., to
customers,
believe you're
etc.,
solvent
to believe
when
you
you
are
know
solvent
you are not.
when you are not.
Where I can explain how the legal term bankrupt is used differently depending on where you are in the world. Explain how the legal term bankrupt is used differently depending on where you are in the world. In some countries, the
In some
term
countries,
bankrupt
the
can be
term
used
bankrupt
to
can be used
describe both
to
companies
describe
and individual people.
sorry,
However, in some
describe.
countries,
Okay, in some
the term
countries,
bankrupt can be
the term
used
bankrupt
to
can
describe
be used
both
to
companies
describe
and
both
individual
companies
people,
and individual
whereas
people,
in the UK and
whereas in the
certain
UK
other
and
countries,
certain other
bankrupt is
countries,
only used for
bankrupt
people.
is only used for
Companies
people.
are declared
Companies are
insolvent instead.
declared insolvent instead.
Where I get what are the nouns of the adjective insolvent and bankrupt? What are the nouns of the adjective insolvent and bankrupt? The nouns of the
The nouns
adjectives
of the
insolvent and
adjectives
bankrupt
insolvent and bankrupt
are
are
insolvency and
insolvency
bankruptcy.
and bankruptcy.
Very good. Give me an example of the idiom give someone a heads up. Give me an example of the idiom give someone a heads up, please. I thought I should
I
give you
thought
a
I
heads up
should give you a
that
heads
the
up
train are
that the
in
train
chaos
are in
because of the
chaos
weather.
because of the weather.
Very good. Okay, next. Name a company that has a global customer base. Name a company that has a global customer base, please. Apple Inc.
Apple
is a
Inc.
company
is a
that has a
company
global
that has
customer
a
base.
global customer base.
Very good. How would you feel if you heard your company had just closed an important deal? How would you feel if you heard your company had just closed an important deal? If I heard my
If I heard
company had
my
just
company
closed
had just
an
closed
important
an
deal,
important
I'd
deal,
feel
I'd feel excited.
very good. Very good. Okay, now let's move on to writing a report. Okay, so here we go. Page 88.
Mm, okay.
Okay, so we're done with page 88. Okay, so now let's continue with reading first. Okay, please get your book
Wait a moment.
and open to
Okay.
page 88.
open to
And let's read
88.
Kenton House report.
88. Kenton House report.
Hmm.
Okay. Kenton House report. Executive summary. There is a need for the company to move to larger premises, with Kenton House in Black Horse Avenue being a popular choice. As requested by our CEO, the suitability of the building was recently investigated, revealing that while Kenton House is appropriate in many ways, the relatively small rooms in the building would not provide an appropriate working environment. As such, for alternative premises should start now as a matter of urgency, with the aim of finding a building, which
Matches.
matches Canton House in terms of facilities, but which meets our requirements as regards room size. Introduction. Our company now employs 65 members of staff, 30% more than 12 months ago. As such, new premises are needed. On 24th February, I spoke with the landlord of Kenton House, Mr. J. Frampton, and visited the building visit, uh, visited the building personally to assess its suitability as regards location, rent, facilities, and size.
Good.
Findings. Number one, location. Kenton House is near the center of town, but in a quiet road on the edge of the park. It has excellent bus and rail connections, and shops and restaurants nearby. Number two, rent. The current rent for the premises is 4% less than our current rent. There are no plans for this to change within the next 3 years. Number three, facilities. Kenton House offers 3 floors of commercial space, each with adequate facilities for staff, including 2 kitchens. On the first and second floor, toilets can be found on each level. In addition to stairs, the building has a lift connecting all floors. There are network connection points in every office. To the side of the building, to the side of the building
Hmm.
is a car park offering up to 60 spaces. And number four, size. Canton House contains 12 offices and a large conference room. In theory, the building could accommodate all our current staff and even allow us to expand in the future. The offices are, however, small, and even the largest is only able to accommodate a maximum of around 6 staff in comfort. According to Mr. Frampton, it is unlikely that permission would be given to change the structure of the property. Conclusions. Kenton House is ideal in many ways. However, the small offices would not, in my opinion, provide the open environment and freedom of communication that is necessary for our advertising agency. Recommendations. In light of the above, I recommended that I recommend that a small team of staff is selected
A small
to
team.
start an immediate. Okay. I recommend that a small team of staff is selected to start an immediate and determined search for alternative premises. This should be as attractive as Kenton House as regards location, rent, and facilities, and should also offer larger offices that will allow teams of 10 members of staff or more to collaborate together on projects. Angela Moore, Facilities Manager, 9th March 2014.
Very good. Okay, so you read it as 9th of March. Like you put
9 of March.
very good. Okay,
9 of March. Okay.
very good. Okay, so please close your book and let's continue new work. Okay, here we
Okay.
go.
Yeah.
So question and answer. So let's practice. What do we
Okay.
mean by written report? What do we mean by written report?
Written report.
By a written report,
By a written
we mean
report,
a highly
we mean a
organized
highly
document
organized document
written for a specific
written
person
for a specific
or group
person
of people
or a group of
that
people
provides
that
information
provides
on a
information
particular
on a
situation
particular
or
situation
event.
or event.
What writing style should we use in a report? What writing style should we
Writing
use in a
style.
report? We should use
We should
a
use
formal and
a formal
impersonal
and
style
impersonal
in
style
writing a report.
in writing a report.
What are two common ways of starting a report? What are two common ways of starting a report? Two common ways of starting
Two
a
common
report
ways
are
of
by
starting a
using a
report
title
are by
or
using
by
a
using
title
to,
or by using
from, and
to,
subject
from,
lines
and
as
subject
in an
lines
email.
as in an email.
Right, and what's the point of having an executive summary at the beginning of a report?
Summary at the
What's
beginning
the
of a
point of
report.
having an executive summary at the beginning of a report? The point of having
The point
an
of
executive
having
summary
an executive
at the
summary
beginning of a
at
report
the beginning
is
of a
that
report
it
is
prepares
that
people
it
to
prepares
read the
people
report in
to read
detail
the report in
and
detail
provides important
and provides
information
important
for
information
people who might not
for
read
people
the
who
whole
might not
report.
read the whole report.
Right? In the introduction section, what sort of information should we include? In the introduction section, what sort of information should we include? In the introduction
In the
section,
introduction
we should
section,
include
we
the
should
reason for the
include the
report
reason for the
and
report
aim of the report,
and aim to the
how
report,
information for the
how
report
information
was
for the
obtained,
report was obtained,
etc.
etc.
Ragged, how can we make it clear to the reader what each section of a
What
report
the
is
section of
about?
report is
How can
about.
we make it clear to the reader what each section of a report is about? We can make it
We
clear
can
to
make
the
it
reader
clear
what
to the
each
reader
section
what
of a
each
report
section
is about
of a report is
by
about
using headings
by
and
using headings
subheadings.
and subheadings.
Right? Should the main paragraph of a report focus on facts or give our own personal opinions? Should the main paragraph of a report focus on facts or give our own personal opinions? The main paragraph
The main
of a
paragraph
report
of a report
focus on facts.
focus on facts.
Very good. So where do we normally write our own opinions? So where do we normally write our own opinions? We normally write
We normally
our
write
own
our
opinions
own
at the
opinions
end.
at the end.
What else do we often put at the end? What else do we often put at the end? We often put
We often put
recommendations at the
recommendations
end.
at the end.
Very good. If a report is long or complex, how might we change the introduction section? If a report is long or complex, how might we change the introduction section? If a report is
If a
long or
report is
complex,
long or
we might
complex,
separate
we
the
might separate
introduction
the
into two
introduction
sections:
into two sections:
terms of reference,
terms of reference,
giving the reason for the
giving
report
the reason for the
and the
report
aim of the report,
and aim of the report,
and procedure,
and the procedure,
saying information
saying
for the
information
report was
for the
obtained,
report was obtained,
etc. Okay.
etc.
And what else might a long or complex report include? And what else might a long or complex report include? A long or
A
complex
long or
report
complex
includes
report
a table,
includes
a table of
a
contents
table of
at the
contents
start and
at the
some
start
appendices
and
at the
some
end.
at the some
Appendices
appendices
at the end.
at the
Yeah,
end.
like plural of appendix. Okay, one more. A
Appendix.
long
Okay.
or complex
A
report
long or complex report
includes a table of
includes a
contents at
table
the
of
start
contents at the
and
start
some
and
appendices
some
at the end.
appendices at the end.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Update.
Update,
Install.
install,
Hardware.
hardware,
Very good. Okay, listen. The word update is a verb. It means to
is a verb
change something by
to change
including the most
by
recent information.
including the most recent
For
information.
example, I'd contact the
contact
IT department to
IT
get software
department
update.
to get the software
I've
update.
installed new
Additional
antivirus.
department.
Install is a verb. It means to add new software to a
Add the new
computer so that
software
it's
so
ready to be used.
it's ready to be used.
Hardware is a noun. It
Hardware is
means
now
computer machinery and
computer
equipment such
machinery
as
and
keyboard,
equipment
mouse,
and
printer,
keyboard,
etc.
mouse, printer,
For
etc.
example, she bought some new hardware for her system.
Hardware for her system.
Let's practice. Which department would you contact to get software update?
The software
New
update.
hardware installed
New
at
hardware
work.
installed.
Which department would you contact to get software update or new hardware installed at work? I'd contact
I'd
the
contact
IT
the
department
IT
to get
department
software
to get
update
the software
or new
updated
hardware
or new
installed at
hardware
work.
installed at work.
Very good. Next, repeat in the loop.
In the loop.
Very good. In the loop. Okay, listen. When we say that someone is in the loop, it
In the
means
loop.
they're part of a limited group
They're part of
of
a
people
limited group
who know
of people
information about a
who know
particular
information
situation.
about a particular
For
situation.
example, if I want you to inform me how a project develops over
How
the next few weeks,
over the next
I
few
might ask
weeks.
you to keep me in the loop. Or like another word is update me of the progress. Keep me in the
Update
loop.
me properly.
Let's practice. Give me an example of the idiom in the loop. Give me an example of the idiom
Example
in the loop,
idiom in the
please.
loop.
There's not
There's
uh,
not
there's not much point
there's not much point
asking Simon about the project.
asking Simon about
He's
the
not
project.
really in the loop.
Is not really in the loop.
Very good. Next, repeat. Net. Okay, one more
Net,
like net. Net. Gross.
net,
Deduct.
gross, deduct.
Very good. Okay, listen. Net. The word net is a noun. Net income means your income after you have paid taxes, so
After
clean
you
with
have
tax and
paid
all
taxes,
deductions.
clear
For
tax and
example,
all
the
deduction.
company's fourth quarter net edge higher to $22.4 million dollars
To
from
22
22 million.
million dollars from
Gross
22
is a
million.
noun. Gross income means your income before you have
Income
paid
is income
taxes,
before you
before
have paid
taxes and
taxes.
deductions. For
Before tax
example,
deduction.
I give 10% of my gross to the
10% of
government
my
of my
gross to
tax
the
every
government
month.
of my tax every month.
Deduct is a verb. It means to take away something, especially an
Take
amount
away
of money
something,
from a
especially
total.
an amount of money
For
from a
example,
total.
a worker's net income is smaller
Worker
than their
net
gross
income is
income
smaller than
because
the gross
net
income
income
because
is the money that
net income
remains
is the
after
money that
tax
remains
and
after
other
tax.
necessary payments
Other
have been
necessary
deducted
payment
from the
have
gross
been
income.
deducted from the gross income.
Very good, let's practice. Why is a worker's net income smaller than their gross income? Why is a worker's
Why
net
is the
income
worker's
smaller than their
income
gross
smaller than
income?
the gross
A
income?
worker's net
A
income
worker's
is
net
smaller
income
than their
is
gross
smaller
income
than their
be-
gross income
because
because
net income is the
net
money
income
that
is the money
remains after
that
tax
remains after
and
tax
other
and
necessary
other
payments
necessary
have
payments
been deducted
have been
from the
deducted
gross income.
from the gross income.
Very good. Okay, next. Best practice.
Best practice.
Follow best practice.
Mm, follow best practice.
Guideline.
Guideline.
Very good. Okay, listen. Guideline is a noun. It is official instruction. It is an
Official
official instruction
instructions
or advice
instruction
about how to do
advice
something.
about how to do something.
When we say we are following best
We are
practice,
following
we
best
mean we are
practice.
using a
We are
procedure
using a
or way
procedure
of doing
way
something
of
that is
doing
generally
something that
accepted
is
to
generally
be better than
accepted
any
to be
other.
better than any others.
People can use best
People can
practice as a guideline for achieving good results.
achieve
For
good
example,
result.
in a hospital, a doctor is
A
expected to
doctor is
follow best
expected to
practice
follow
when
best
treating each
practice when
particular
treating each
illness.
particular illness.
Note that technically the noun phrase best practice can be countable and take the infinitive
Take the
article a
infinitive
as
article her
in a
as
best practice.
in a best practice.
However, it is normally used as an
Normally
uncountable
used as
noun
an
phrase similar to the noun
similar
behavior.
to the noun behavior.
Okay, let's practice. Give me an example of the phrase best practice. Give me an example of the phrase best practice, please. When planning its
When planning
development
its
of the new
development
airport,
of the
the
new
government airport,
airport,
the government followed
the government
best
followed
practice in
best
every
practice
stage.
in every stage.
Very good, one more. When planning its
When
development
planning
of
its
the new
development
airport.
of the new
The
airport,
government followed
the government
best
followed
practice at
best
every
practice
stage.
at every stage.
Very good. Okay, next repeat. Forward.
Forward,
Thread.
thread,
Confidential.
confidential.
Very good. Okay, listen. Forward is a verb. It means to send something you have received,
Something
such as
you
a
have
letter
received, such as
or
a letter,
email, to someone else.
email to
Thread is a
someone
noun.
else.
It means a series of related
A
messages that
series
were
of
written
related
on an
messages
internet
that were
message
written
board.
on an internet message board.
Confidential is an
Confidential,
adjective. It means trusted
adjective,
with secret or private information.
secret or private
For
information.
example, it's a good idea to read an email thread carefully before forwarding the email to
Before
someone so
forwarding
you can
email to
remove
someone, you
unimportant
can remove
or
unimportant
confidential information
or
and
confidential
comments you
information
don't want the
and
person to
comments
read.
you don't want the person to read.
Very good. Okay, let's practice. Why is it a good idea to read an email thread carefully before forwarding the email to someone? Why is it a good
Why
idea
is it
to
a good
read an
idea to
email thread carefully before forwarding the email to
read an
someone?
email?
It's a good idea
It's a good
to
idea
read an email
to
thread
read an email
carefully
thread
before
carefully
forwarding the
before
email to
forwarding
someone
the email to
so you can
someone,
remove
so you can
unimportant
remove
or confidential
important or
information
confidential
and
information
comments you don't want
and comments you don't
the
want
person to read.
the person to read.
Very good. Okay, so now let's move on to reading.
Okay, reading.
Okay, very good. So our reading is at page 56. Last headword was act. Okay, start at headword output
56.
productivity unit machinery.